The conference room fell completely silent. 20 pairs of eyes stared at Daniel, some wide with shock, others lowered in sudden understanding. His manager, Sarah, who had asked the question with such casual confidence just moments before, now stood frozen, her coffee mug suspended halfway to her lips. No one had expected such raw honesty from the quiet software engineer who always kept to himself. But sometimes, when pushed too far, even the quietest souls find their voice. If you've ever felt judged for your personal choices or had to defend your life path to others, this story might resonate with you. Before we dive deeper into Daniel's powerful response, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more authentic stories that explore the complex realities of modern relationships and workplace dynamics. The morning had started like any other Monday at Horizon Tech. Daniel Matthews arrived at precisely 8:45 a.m., his routine as predictable as the sunrise. At 34, he was neither particularly remarkable nor forgettable, average height, with dark-rimmed glasses that framed thoughtful brown eyes, and a wardrobe that consisted mainly of button-downs and khakis that seemed to blend into the corporate landscape. What set Daniel apart was his brilliance with code. His mind could untangle the most complex programming problems, finding elegant solutions where others saw only chaos. This talent had earned him respect among his peers and the attention of upper management, who had recently promoted him to lead developer on their most ambitious project to date. The quarterly team-building breakfast was a tradition Daniel typically dreaded. Forced socialization made him uncomfortable, but he'd learned to navigate these events with practiced small talk and strategic positioning near the exit. Today, however, he found himself trapped at the main table, directly across from Sarah Reynolds, the newly appointed project manager who had transferred from the New York office. Sarah was everything Daniel wasn't: outgoing, assertive, and seemingly comfortable in any social situation. Her sleek bob and designer suits projected confidence, and her reputation for driving teams to success preceded her. Daniel respected her professionally but found her direct approach intimidating. As the team discussed weekend activities between bites of bagels and fruit, Sarah turned her attention to Daniel. "So, Daniel," she said, her voice carrying across the table with ease, silencing nearby conversations. "I've been getting to know everyone on the team. You're clearly talented, stable in your career, own your home. From what I hear, why are you still single? A catch like you should be snatched up by now." The question hung in the air. Daniel felt his chest tighten as all eyes turned to him. It wasn't the first time he'd faced this question, but it was the first time it had been asked so publicly, so casually, as if his relationship status were simply another data point to be analyzed and potentially optimized. In the past, he would have mumbled something about being busy with work or not having found the right person yet, the expected responses that would satisfy curiosity without revealing too much. But something shifted in Daniel at that moment. Perhaps it was the culmination of years of similar questions from family members, friends, and now colleagues. Perhaps it was the implicit judgment in Sarah's tone, the suggestion that something must be wrong with him if he hadn't followed the expected life trajectory. Daniel set down his fork carefully. He took a deep breath, and when he spoke, his voice was quiet but steady. 5 years ago, he began, I was engaged to my college sweetheart, Emma. We had it all planned: the wedding venue, the honeymoon, even the neighborhood where we'd buy our first home. 3 months before the wedding, Emma was diagnosed with an aggressive form of leukemia. The room grew still. Sarah's confident smile faltered. For the next 8 months, my life revolved around hospital visits, medical research, and holding Emma's hand through treatments that ravaged her body but couldn't touch her spirit. She fought harder than anyone I've ever known, but sometimes, even the strongest fighters don't win. Daniel paused, his eyes focused on some distant point beyond the conference room walls. After she died, I threw myself into work because code made sense when nothing else did. I sold our dream house because I couldn't bear to live there alone. And I learned that grief isn't something you get over, it's something you carry. Some days it's lighter than others, but it's always there. He finally looked directly at Sarah, whose face had drained of color. So to answer your question, I'm single because I'm still learning how to carry that weight and open my heart again. And because I've discovered that my relationship status is probably the least interesting thing about me. The silence that followed was absolute. No one moved. No one spoke. The only sound was the distant hum of the air conditioning and the gentle ticking of the wall clock. Sarah set down her coffee mug. Daniel, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. You couldn't have known, he replied gently. But maybe that's the point. We never really know what battles people are fighting or what stories they carry. The aftermath of that morning changed the dynamics of the Horizon Tech office in subtle but significant ways. For Daniel, the unexpected unburdening brought a strange sense of relief. He had never spoken so openly about Emma at work, had kept that part of his life carefully compartmentalized. But having his truth acknowledged seemed to lighten the weight he carried. Sarah approached him later that day, finding him alone in the break room. I owe you a proper apology, she said, her usual confidence tempered with genuine remorse. That question was inappropriate and invasive, regardless of your circumstances. Daniel nodded, appreciating her directness. Thank you for saying that. If you don't mind me asking, Sarah ventured carefully, why did you choose to share something so personal? You could have told me to mind my own business. Daniel considered this as he stirred his tea. I guess I'm tired of the simplified narratives we create about each other. The assumption that being single at a certain age means something is wrong, or that success can be measured by relationship milestones. Sarah leaned against the counter. I've been guilty of that. My own divorce last year shattered my timeline of how life was supposed to unfold. I'm still adjusting to the plot twist. This unexpected confession created a moment of connection between them. Not romance, they were both far from ready for that, but understanding. Two people acknowledging the complex realities behind their professional facades. In the weeks that followed, subtle changes rippled through the office culture. The personal questions during team meetings became less intrusive. Conversations grew more authentic, less performative. Daniel found himself gradually emerging from his self-imposed isolation, accepting occasional invitations to after-work gatherings. The project they were working on, a healthcare management system for rural hospitals, took on deeper meaning for Daniel when Sarah suggested a feature that would help families of long-term patients coordinate care and support. He threw himself into developing it, drawing on his experiences with Emma's illness to create something truly useful. 3 months after that fateful team breakfast, Daniel received an email that would change his life again. A small cancer support nonprofit was looking for volunteers to help redesign their website and patient connection platform. The request had come through Sarah, who thought he might be interested. Daniel's first instinct was to decline. Working with cancer patients and their families would surely reopen wounds that had barely begun to heal. But something about the opportunity called to him, a chance to transform his pain into purpose. His first meeting with the nonprofit's director, Layla, was scheduled at a coffee shop near the office. Daniel arrived early, nervously rehearsing what he would say about his qualifications and availability. When Layla walked in, a woman about his age with a warm smile and a colorful headscarf that suggested her own history with cancer, he felt an unexpected calm settle over him. Before we discuss the website, Daniel said after introductions, I should tell you why this project matters to me. And for the second time that year, Daniel shared Emma's story. But this time, the telling felt different, less like reopening a wound and more like honoring a legacy. Layla listened intently, nodding in understanding. When he finished, she said simply, Emma would be proud of you for being here today. The website redesign project became Daniel's passion. He worked evenings and weekends, creating an intuitive platform where patients could connect with resources and each other. Sarah occasionally joined him, offering project management expertise and, increasingly, friendship. At the nonprofit's annual fundraiser 6 months later, Daniel found himself on stage, explaining the new features to an audience of survivors, caregivers, and medical professionals. As he demonstrated how families could coordinate care calendars and share updates, he caught sight of a familiar face in the crowd, Dr. Chen, Emma's oncologist. After the presentation, the doctor approached him with a warm handshake. "Emma always said you were brilliant," Dr. Chen remarked. "She would love seeing how you've channeled that brilliance." "Do you think she would understand?" Daniel asked, the question that had haunted him for years finally finding voice. "That it's taken me this long to move forward?" Dr. Chen's response was gentle but firm. "In my 30 years of practice, I've learned that grief has no timeline. Moving forward doesn't mean leaving someone behind, it means carrying them with you in a way that brings meaning rather than just pain." That night, driving home from the event, Daniel reflected on the journey of the past year. From the moment of uncomfortable truth in that conference room to tonight's presentation, he had gradually stepped back into life, not the life he had planned with Emma, but a life that honored her memory through purpose and connection. His phone buzzed with a text from Sarah: "Incredible presentation tonight. The patient connection feature will help so many families. Coffee tomorrow to discuss phase 2? Daniel smiled. Their friendship had developed naturally, built on mutual respect and shared purpose. Whether it might someday evolve into something more remained to be seen, but for the first time in years, Daniel was open to possibilities. When he arrived home, he went to the closet where he kept a box of Emma's things, photos, letters, the engagement ring she had returned to him in the hospital, insisting he would need it again someday. He had avoided this box for years, but tonight he sat on the floor and carefully opened it. Among the memories was a letter Emma had written during her final weeks, to be read, "When you're ready to live again." With trembling hands, Daniel unfolded it. "My dearest Daniel," it began. "If you're reading this, it means 2 things, I'm gone, and you're finally considering a future without me. Both break my heart, but both were inevitable. I need you to know that loving someone means wanting their happiness above all else, even when that happiness no longer includes you. Your capacity for love is too extraordinary to remain locked away. The world needs your heart, Danny, as much as it needs your brilliant mind." Tears streamed down Daniel's face as he read her final words: "Being loved by you was my life's greatest gift. Please don't let my death be the end of your capacity to give that gift to others, whether through love, friendship, or purpose. That's how I'll live on." Daniel carefully refolded the letter and placed it on his nightstand rather than back in the box. A reminder not of what he had lost, but of what he had been given. The following spring, Horizon Tech held their annual company picnic at a local park. Daniel, now the director of the healthcare division he had helped create, found himself surrounded by colleagues who had become friends. The team had expanded, their cancer support platform now implemented in hospitals across the country. Sarah approached with 2 glasses of lemonade, handing one to Daniel. "Remember last year's team breakfast?" she asked with a wry smile. "How could I forget?" Daniel replied. "Not exactly your finest moment as a manager." She laughed. "Definitely not. But maybe one of your finest as a human being. That moment changed things around here." Daniel looked around at their colleagues, at Mark showing pictures of his newborn daughter, at Priya discussing her recent decision to adopt as a single parent, at Jason who had taken a 3-month leave to care for his ailing father and return to unconditional support. The culture had shifted toward one of authentic humanity. "We're all carrying something," Daniel said thoughtfully. "The difference is whether we make space for each other's burdens." As the afternoon sun warmed the park, team members gathered for a group photo. Daniel stood in the center, no longer the isolated figure at the edge of company gatherings. Sarah stood beside him, their shoulders almost touching. "So," she said quietly as they posed, "if someone were to ask you that same question today?" Daniel smiled, thinking of the journey that had brought him here, the grief that had shaped him, the purpose that had saved him, and the connections that had gradually healed him. "I'd say I'm exactly where I need to be," he replied. "And that some questions don't have simple answers." The camera flashed, capturing a moment of genuine contentment, not the happiness Daniel had once planned, but the joy he had discovered by embracing his full story, with all its complexity and pain and unexpected beauty. As Daniel's story shows us, the questions we ask others can reveal more about our own assumptions than their realities. His journey reminds us that healing isn't linear, that grief and growth can coexist, and that our value isn't determined by our relationship status but by the depth of our humanity. If this story touched you, please like and subscribe for more content that explores the complexities of human connection and the courage it takes to live authentically. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever been judged for your life choices? How did you respond? Remember, behind every simple question about someone's personal life lies a complex human story. May we all learn to listen more deeply and judge less quickly, creating spaces where truth can be spoken and received with compassion.